speaking of flawed processes, I've got to ask about the NFL Hall of Fame. I,
Oh,
we see this in baseball, but I've got to be honest, and I think you spoke to maybe some of the flaws of Bill Belichick. Maybe he doesn't have the legacy some other guys have of the family tree of coaches, but the facts are the facts. He has 6 Super Bowl rings. So does Robert Kraft, the most by a head coach and an owner. Neither of them are in the Hall of Fame. What do you make of the NFL Hall of Fame voting process?
it sucks. It's terrible. It must be changed because you got two parallel courses here, right? Thad, you've got the process, as you mentioned, and then you have the qualifications. Who in their right mind? I mean, when being a little facetious here, but when it would come down to the voting room and the presentation, because obviously each candidate needs to have a presenter. Here's who the presenter should be: Bill Belichick, Tom Brady. That's it. It's just that simple. Now, I will be brutally honest with you. When I learned that Belichick was going in was eligible after just 1 year because they changed the rules again. It used to be a 5-year waiting period for players and coaches. Now it's just for players. I had a feeling he wasn't going to go in first ballot because I had a feeling that some of them were going to make him pay. They were going to make him pay. And it's not fair and it's wrong. But you have to understand one thing. It's not just about Bill. Last year, Mike Holmgren didn't get in. They put up one head coaching candidate. It's almost rubber stamped. When he didn't get in, I was appalled because look at the backlog you have right now. In my opinion, you got Holmgren, you got Coughlin, you got Shanahan, and now you've got Bill. So you got 4 guys who all should be in the Hall of Fame. What are you waiting for? Now, if you were going to take the tack with Belichick that maybe you did with Parcells, might he come back? If he comes back, we don't want to put him in yet. We're going to wait. They did that with Parcells, right? But I just think that the process, which I don't think a lot of people understand and how difficult it is, and they keep changing it, it's terrible. And truthfully, I said to the commissioner when I saw him at the Super Bowl, I said, listen, anytime you've got people talking about the process and not talking about the people, you got a problem. You got a real problem. And that's what you have. And the other thing, Thad, is you cannot, absolutely unequivocally, cannot conflate the careers of a head coach, a player, and an owner. Totally different bodies of work. How do you compare them? Can't compare them. So I'm sick about the process. I'm absolutely sick about the process. And I hate that more people were talking about who didn't get in than, wow, Roger Craig finally made it in. I feel vehemently that Robert Kraft should be in there. I'd like to see him get in before he dies, because I've been to enough of these Hall of Fames where players go in posthumously. Reggie White, Junior Seau. It's brutal. It's brutal for the families. They have to relive everything. And, Kraft belongs in the Hall of Fame. Absolutely. For not just, it's beyond just the 6 Super Bowls. It's what he created. I mean, he created Patriot Place, predated Jerry World, if you will. As you can tell, I kind of get fired up about it because I find it reprehensible that we're talking about the process and these are surefire Hall of Famers. And you know what? You make them wait a year. I mean, I've told enough guys who have been rejected in some cases for years and years and years. Believe me, when you get in, you're not getting in with an extra little ribbon that says first ballot. Either you're a Hall of Famer or you're not. You're going to get in. But this whole process of which makes them wait, I think is terrible.
I couldn't agree with you more. I feel as sports has evolved so dramatically in terms of the amount of data and analytics we apply to determining who players are performing, which players are performing well. This is the last bastion of incredible subjectivity, and we just have no idea why people do or do not vote for people. And this notion, I've never understood that I'm going to vote for them as a second ballot or a third ballot, but I'm just not doing it as a first. It's never made sense to me. They're either a Hall of Famer or they're not a Hall of Famer. And to say that the people who have the most rings as an owner and the most rings as a head coach are not a Hall of Famer, let alone first ballot Hall of Famer, seems to really muddy the whole waters for me.
Right. But again, it gets back to the process, because the idea that the process would lead you to say, well, look, I know Belichick's going to get in at some point. I know he's going to get in, but Roger Craig could be, or, Elsie Greenwood, he could be on his last legs. That's a flawed process.